Good morning, everyone. Really awesome to see you here in such a great numbers. So more and more devices are being used to serve the web. And those devices come in different sizes and they have different capabilities. So I think that it isn't really realistic to build separate websites and just to ensure that on every single one of those devices your website is going to look great. That would be not only expensive but also time consuming, not only to build but also to maintain. What if, however, we were able to build one single site that adapts itself to all the different devices that are being used and all the different scenarios that that website is supposed to support? My name is Waldek Mastykarz, and I am a 5-time SharePoint server MVP. I work as a SharePoint consultant at a Dutch company called Renditions. I blog, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, probably. I'm also on Google Plus, although I'm not using it really. So don't share anything with me there. I'm not responding to that. So before we start, before we go any further, let's have a quick look at how a intelligent website would look like. So here is the mavention.com website that you might have already seen before. Just a quick check, how many of you have already seen it? I already like you guys. So this is the homepage of our website, and what you see here is the latest press release. Here we have the latest information about the latest project that we did. Here you have some job offers. Here we have information about products, and here is the latest blog post. And this is how this website looked like if you come to it the first time. However, if you happen to read my blog, and you would be kind enough to click on our logo there, and you come to our website, you might see a different change. Has anyone seen that?
The top box right corner has a different text.
Yes, it is. So what we do here is, if we just quickly flip between the two pages, you will probably be able to see it a little easier. Before, after. Before, after. So the welcome page still displays the same content, but we change the order in which it is displayed. So the first thing that you see here is a job offer. Surprise, surprise, why is that? Well, we assume that if you are on my blog, you are probably a technical person. And we love technical people at Mavention, so we would love to hire you, right? And just to try to convince you that we do really awesome work, we back that up with the information about the latest project that we did. One of the things that it's really important for us is sharing knowledge, so that's the blog post. And two other things that it's quite important for everyone at first, but are probably less important for you if you are a technical person, are the press releases and product information, so we just move those down a little. So another thing that an intelligent website does is it helps you discover more content than you might initially look for. So it helps you find out things that you didn't even know you were interested in. So if we go to a blog post on our website, That's probably not the smartest choice of me to pick the latest one. So here at the bottom, you see two recommended items that we recommend to you based on the content of that page and what other users that read that blog post also found useful. So with that, we hope that you will just stick a little longer on our website and you will discover some new content that might be relevant for you. So another thing that an intelligent website does, it also helps you discover even more content. Although this seems very similar to what you've just seen, these are blog posts written by the person whose page this is. This is the page of my boss. I'm not trying to get anything here. So a second ago, we saw recommended items. Those are related items. So those are items written by that guy. Another thing that we notice a lot, or at least I notice a lot because whether I want or not, I pay attention to, is that there are a lot of folks trying to find some information about me. And those folks have the tendency to type really fast. So they go to our website, they go to search, and they type my name. Like that. Did you see the spelling mistakes? Surprise, surprise, they won't find anything. Nevertheless, we think like, yeah, you typed that, but you probably meant that guy. So with the suggestion here, we provide them with a link that they can click and to get to the search results that they initially wanted. And if you are not typing that fast, there is even better solution for you. There you go. So instead of typing that whole name, making really many typos there, you can just click it in a list, and you will be initially taken to the page that you wanted to be on. And the latest thing that intelligent websites does is, should you happen to lose your way around it, it will help you find your way back. So what I was doing here is imagine that someone somewhere on the internet would put a link to my page but would misspell my name. So this is a page not found page, but what it contains is what's called page not found widget that automatically extracts the keywords from the URL of the missing page and injects them into search. So with that, we can save you some work and we can try to make it that easier for you to find the right page that you wanted to find. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is that how this site is going to look like should you navigate to it on a mobile device, such as, for example, a smartphone. So the screen here isn't that big, but if you would navigate to this page on a full-scale laptop, you would see not 3 blocks next to each other, but 5. And as you go down, that's going to scale. So this is how the homepage is going to look like should you browse to it on a mobile phone. Please don't do it now. I'm using the bandwidth of our servers now. You will have the rest of the day time to browse it, okay? And if you increase the window size, you will see that the website is going to grow, expand, and it will just try to adapt to what the size of your device is. And this applies not only to the home page, but also to the content pages as well. So if I pick a blog article, If that was a full-blown screen, on the right-hand side, you would see additional column with the picture of the author of this article. Because we adapt, that's dropped. We thought that author of this page is the least relevant information of this page, so we put the content first. And if you scale, the first thing that you're going to see is that the menu on the left-hand side is going to become a one-column display, right? If we scale that down even further, you will see that there is no menu at all. We assume that if you are on a mobile device and you are on a detailed page of a blog post, you are interested in an article, not in the menu. If you want to get to the menu, there is a way for you to do that, and that way is to go back to the home page. So you are never more than one click away from the navigation on our website. Oh boy. So to recap, an intelligent website is a website that adapts itself to who the user is, what she is trying to achieve, and what device she is using. Is it cool that I'm using she for the user? So intelligent websites are cool, obviously, but is it something that the business would spend their money on? So from the business perspective, intelligent websites offer great benefits. First of all, they allow you to cut costs. At the end of the day, you have only one website that you have to build and maintain. Another great benefit is that they allow you to shorten your time to market. Because all of your content is tagged, you can really quickly respond to the new things in the market by creating dynamic roll-up pages, stuff like that. Another great benefit from the business perspective is expanding the reach. Because your website has great user experience on probably all devices that can be used to serve to it, there is a great chance that you will reach more and more people. Additionally, by displaying the relevant content to the users, you will give them the feeling that you understand them, you understand their needs. And with that, you will increase your chance of converting your visitors to your customers. So now we know what intelligent websites are and which business benefits they offer. Let's have a closer look at what they consist of. So from a high-level perspective, there are three key things that intelligent websites have. Those are responsive user experience, responsive media, and responsive content. And an intelligent website has to adapt across all those three axes, once again, to who the user is, what she is trying to achieve, and what device she is using. So the whole idea behind responsive user experience is to reach as many people possible with one single website. Just to be able to bring your message to the potential customers. And you start implementing or planning for responsive user experience by deciding which devices you are focusing on. And although the idea is to reach as many devices as you can, this is going to help you discover what kind of user experiences you will need. Will you only need the desktop experience, or will you have to have another one for tablets or touch devices, and will you also need one for smartphones? Once you have decided on that, the next step is to define your breakpoints. So the points where one user experience turns into another. Finally, the last thing that you have to take into account are the different capabilities of different devices that you are supporting. For example, do all your users use computers with mice, or do they use touch devices as well? So another thing that we have to take into account are responsive media. And the idea here is to optimize or improve the user experience by not making our visitors download any more information than they need or their devices can process. So responsive media builds upon responsive user experience. As your user experience adapts to the device, so does responsive media. And optimally, what you want to achieve is you want to have your media scaled and adjusted server-side so that you can ensure that only the piece of or the part that can be displayed on a mobile device is downloaded. And the last component is responsive content, and this is something else than showing and hiding paragraphs on mobile devices. The idea here is to help your visitors on one hand to find the content that they are looking for, and on the other hand to discover some new content that they might not even know that A, they were interested in, and B, that you have it. And you can do it in three main ways. So the first thing is to recommend the content based on the click behavior of other users. Secondly, the more you know about the current visitor on your website, the more abilities you have to recommend or to show relevant content to them, so to personalize the content that they see. And finally, whatever users do on your website, you can assist them, guide them, provide them help with trying to to help them achieve what they are trying to do. And particular scenario of showing personalized content is content targeting. And the challenging part here is that it's very challenging from the organization perspective, so not technology. It allows you to achieve great results for increasing conversion from your website, but it requires you to know your audience very well. The first thing that you have to know is who your users are. And once you know that, you have to find a way to translate that whole group of people into audiences on your website. And once you know what audiences do you have to go on. What properties do those audiences have? So how do you characterize those audiences? And once you know that, you're still not there, because then you have to know when that visitor gets that property and when, if at all, she loses it. So a sample scenario for this is that on mavention.com we recognize three audiences. We have the default one, we have the customers, and we have, as we call it, mavens to be, so the people that we would love to hire. And if we find that you, for example, read a technical article on our website, or you're coming to our website from my technical blog, you will get the property, you're a technical person. And with that property, you are a technical person, you become for us a maven to be. Any questions about the theory so far before we jump into technology? I love you guys. So now that we know what intelligent websites are, what the business benefits are, and what their ingredients are, let's have a look at how would you build one using SharePoint 2013. So for responsive user experience, there are basically two ways that we can use in SharePoint 2013. And I touched a little bit on that in my session yesterday. So if you want to get some more information, refer to that deck. As for now, let's stick to the responsive web design. The great thing about responsive web design is that it has nothing at all to do with SharePoint. You can apply it to any website out there. And the way responsive web design works is that it's based on CSS media queries that are implemented in browser and optionally on JavaScript. So depending what you want to achieve, you might use only CSS or both CSS and JavaScript. So let's have a quick look at how we have implemented responsive web design on Mavention.com. So as you have seen, the more you, or as you scale your screen, the website adapts. And to do that, we have defined some breakpoints for our website, and the breakpoints that we have defined are no market standard. Those breakpoints are defined by us based on the web analytics information that we use from our website. So if I go to our master page, you will see here some references to CSS. In fact, you will see 5 of them. So the first one is the one that we apply despite the device. Think of it as the base containing colors, fonts, stuff like that. And then we have optional CSS that apply only to particular devices, and whether they apply or not depends on the dimensions of the screen. So here we use the CSS for widescreen desktops, then we have one for tablets vertically held, horizontally held, and finally smartphones. So depending on what device do you have and how big it is, either style sheet is going to be applied. And that's basically it. Questions? Yes?
So when you drag your screen smaller, does the browser implement the correct CSS, or does it talk back to the server?
Yes, so that's fully browser-based. There are no callbacks to the server. The question was, if I drag the screen, whether the browser is doing the resizing and the appliance of the right style sheets, or is that SharePoint? So that's being done on the browser client side. There are no callbacks to the server.
One more.
Yeah, sorry.
You only use screen width. How do you deal with defining whether it's touch-based or leave out mouse enter?
So we don't. And the way we dealt with that when we were planning for our website and for the user experience, we have seen that there were users using touch devices. And with that, we decided not to use any of the mouse over, mouse out, hover events at all. Yes. Yes? That's a good question. I don't know. Yes. So if you are concerned about that, you could apply the media queries inside the CSS file itself. And having that minified and compressed by IIS, that would just be difference of few KBs that you wouldn't really notice. Anyone else? So the next thing on our list was responsive media. And in SharePoint 2013, image renditions are a great starting point for implementing responsive media. The challenge that we have, however, out of the box is that image renditions are static. And by that, I mean that when you are editing content or building your website, you define which rendition is being used. And that image rendition is hard-coded in the URL of the referenced image. So if your user experience adapts to the particular device, your image URLs are not going to change all by their own. So if you are looking for a solution for responsive media, there are some things that you have to do yourself. And surprise, surprise, I decided to help you with that a little. You're welcome. In fact, you are free to use it. So a while ago, I have built a solution called Mavention Responsive Image Renditions. And what it does is that using the image renditions capability from SharePoint 2013, it turns the static image renditions into image renditions that are responsive as your user experiences. So let's have a look at how you would implement responsive media with Mavention Responsive Image Renditions. For those of you who read my blog, I have published a step-by-step guide on configuring that. Nevertheless, I think that it's great to see how it works. So on our website, we use a separate site for storing images, and we use a separate site for managing content. So here, I'm on the site where images are stored. And I start from, as you would, out of the box, with configuring image renditions for this site. So here you see the 5 image renditions that you get free out of the box from SharePoint, and then you see the additional 2 that I have out of the box. No, you will see the additional 2 that I've created. Those are not out of the box. No, I don't have a specially branded SharePoint 2013 install base. Yes. No, this is not SharePoint 2013 RT. So here I've created 2 additional image renditions called Screenshot and Screenshot for mobile phones. And in their dimensions, I only decided to provide the width so that the height adjusts proportionally. And here on my side, I have some images used in content. So this is all the stuff that you would do normally out of the box, nothing special here. And for all those images here, I have image renditions configured. So here you can see the out of the box one. Here is my screenshot for mobile phones, and here is the full-size screenshot. This is where out of the box ends. So when you install Mavention Responsive Image Renditions on your site and you activate the site collection feature, you will get a list here called Responsive Image Renditions. This list allows you to map original, so the full-size image renditions to their equivalents. That was the word that I was looking for. So they're equivalents for responsive CSS. So here you see one mapping that I've created, and if you are paying really a lot of attention, you can see that that breakpoint here corresponds to the smallest CSS breakpoint that I have on my site. So let me show you that once again. If I go back to my master page and I show you the responsive web design CSS, there you go. So this is exactly the same mapping, and what it basically say is that if you are going to navigate to my site on a device with the screen width of 646 pixels or less, please replace all references to images loaded using image renditions of 600 width with image renditions of 300 width. This is all of the configuration that you have to do. Starting from now, it's all magic. So let me now show you a sample page using this capability. Here you see an article having those screenshot wide images, so the images loaded using the screenshot with image rendition. And those images are 600 pixels wide. However, if I'm going to scale the browser now, and I hit F5, ta-da! Come on, guys, I've done that. Thank you. So the way it works, and to prove to you that those images are really small and they are sized server-side, let me reload the page again. And here you can see those images. If you can see that, those images are 300 pixels wide. So at this moment, you might be wondering, like, how do we know server-side the size of the screen? Because you usually don't. For that, we use a little trick, and the way it works is that whenever we render the page, we set a cookie that contains the width of the screen. And because that cookie is set on the same domain as the site where the images are stored, that cookie is sent with every single request, what allows us to rewrite or to modify the response. And if you analyze the response of that website, you will see that the page initially refers to the big images, and those are here. But all of those originally referenced images, the big images, are sending back the 302 response code, which means temporarily moved. So yes, we still have those images, but those are not images for this page, for this user experience. Please load different images. There you go.
So no change to the content authoring?
No, no, no. So this page physically contains references to the images with image rendition 600. From the content authoring perspective, there is zero effort you have to do. Zero. And the configuration that you have seen is only initial, because once you create the mappings, that's just there. Any questions? Yes?
Is there any fallback mechanism for if the cookies are not allowed?
Unfortunately not, because the way browsers load images is that they are loaded very early in a page. So there would be no way for you to respond on time before those images are loaded. And eventually you would end up loading two types of images, which is probably even worse than loading the big images only. Yes? Yeah?
How does this technique affect the caching of the images? So, what's the server-side sort of cache story, and what's the client-side cache story?
That's a good question. I think I'll have to get back to you on that. Anyone else? I have some answers for you guys. Come on. Don't get discouraged. So another thing that we can look at from the intelligent website perspective are recommendations. And the great thing is, recommendations just work out of the box. There is not that much work other than some basic configuration that you have to do for that thing to work. SharePoint 2013 offers you the recommended items web part that you can just drop on a page, and that web part is going to use SharePoint 2013 search to find recommended items for that particular page. If you want the recommendations as they are implemented in SharePoint 2013 work on your anonymous site, there is some work that you have to do. First of all, you have to enable the usage cookie, which is a per web application setting. Basically, it's a switch that you have to flip. Then, if you are using catalogs on your website, you have to ensure that the identifier of your content is mapped to the Usage Analytics ID managed property. Otherwise, your content from catalogs will not get any recommendations. And the great thing is that using the SharePoint 2013 Search REST API, you can do some more dynamic solutions around recommendations. All of the recommendations for pages or for items are stored in the recommended for property. So if you can read the value from that property, you will get the list of all recommended items. And another thing that you have to keep in mind if you choose to use the XSL-based rendering for your website, and I talked about this a little more yesterday, is that you will have to do some work yourself for the recommendations to work correctly. Basically, what you will need to do is to instrument for the recommendation events so that SharePoint knows that you're using recommendations and which items should be recommended for which. And for that, SharePoint provides you with two analytics events that you have to call. So first, there is the view event that occurs every single time you display one item as a recommendation to another. Then, whenever a visitor on your website clicks that recommended item, the click event occurs. And as you might have expected it, that's going to boost that recommendation even more, because what it says is that recommendation works. Thank you, SharePoint. So let's take a quick look at how you would implement recommendations in SharePoint 2013. So first, let me show you the usage cookie setting in the central administration. For that, you go to the Manage Web Applications page. You choose your publishing site, and here from the General Settings page, you scroll all the way down, and here it is. That has to be on. No, no, no. So another thing that I mentioned is that if you're using catalogs for anything else than products, you have to configure the mapping of the Usage Analytics ID managed property. So for this, we go to the Search Service application and we go to the Search Schema here. And from this list, you have to find the Usage Analytics ID managed property. And if you click that one, you have to change the mappings to crawled properties here. And here you see the out-of-the-box OWS underscore product catalog item number crawled property that sits there out of the box. On top of that, not to break the functionality available out of the box, I added my own crawled property that uniquely identifies content that's coming from my catalogs. So that's here. And I'm not sure if that's the case out of the box, but should you not be able to retrieve recommendations, you would have to change that property and configure it as retrievable. So you would go to the recommended for managed property and you would enable or check the retrievable checkbox, which will allow you to retrieve the recommended items using SharePoint 2013 Search REST API. From the configuration perspective, there is not that much that you would have to do other than dropping the recommended items web part on your page. That's it. So let's go to a blog article on our website. Let's edit that, and this is our live website, so you don't want me to make any mistakes here. No matter how hard you are going to ask, I'm not going to save it. So here you see the recommended content web part, and this is basically the recommended items web part available out of the box. And if you go to the query options that Chris has just shown in his presentation, that's actually the same UI. Here you can see the result source that serves recommendations, and here you choose based on what the recommendations are shown. So in my case, we're using a token from the URL, and I use the last piece of the token, or last piece of the URL, which is the URL token 1, which happens to be exactly the same as my unique identifier of the content from catalogs that I have just matched in the usage analytics ID property. So this is exactly why you need to have that mapping for SharePoint to be able to map those two guys together. And even though you're not seeing any results here, the content recommendations are there. And that case in this particular page might be that it hasn't been around for that long yet, so the recommendations have to still build up. As I said, I'm not saving. There you go. Any questions about that? Cool. So I think that's the last big thing in this presentation is content targeting. So how can we leverage SharePoint 2013 search analytics capabilities to display personalized content to our users? So first of all, we have to define properties that make up our audiences. Those properties are modeled as terms in your taxonomy. The next step is to model our audiences. And those are called user segments in SharePoint, and those are modeled as query rules. The next step is to decide on how are we going to assign and optionally revoke the properties for our visitors. Unfortunately, this is the first step that you will have to develop, and this is probably going to be a farm solution. As at this moment, there is no mechanism available out of the box that will help you do it, basically because that's too complex to support all of the business requirements that you might have. And once you have those properties stored in your profile, the last thing that you have to do is you have to pass those properties to the content by search web part for it to use that for displaying personalized content. Once again, also for this one, you will need custom development because the only way to push those properties into the content by search web part is through development, through its API. So let's have a quick look at how you would implement content targeting in SharePoint 2013. So we start with defining the user properties that we are going to use for content targeting. For this, we go to the Manage Metadata tool thingy. It is here. And one of the term sets that I have defined is the user segment terms. Here you can see 3 term types that I have defined, and those are bound to how we deal with content targeting and based on what we are targeting the content. So one way that we are targeting content on our website, is by item type. So if you have visited, for example, a blog page on our website, or a case study, or a news, or a job offer, that's a thing that we track. Another thing that we track on our website is where did you come to our website from? So here we have some business websites, and here we have some technical websites, which are basically all of our blogs, my blog amongst it. Finally, we have topic pages, and as for now, we have only one topic page, which is around WCM, and that topic page wraps up all of the content that we have on our website regarding web content management. Should you visit that page, we're gonna keep track of it. Oh yeah, Big Brother is watching you. So once we have that, we're going to do the next step, and we're going to configure the user segments for our website. For this, we go to Site Settings, and from the Site Collection Administration group, we're going to click the Search Query Rules link. At this moment on our website, we're using content targeting only on our homepage. So for that, we have created a separate result source. And that guy is here. And here you can see the 3 rules that we have created, which actually are equivalents to the audiences that we target. So you see the mavens to be, you see the customers, and you see the default results if you are not matching on any of the other audiences. So if we click on the mavens to be rules, so the folks that we would be really keen to hire, here in the context section, you see that here we have defined the segments. So here we try to tell to SharePoint, who do we see as mavens to be? So for us, mavens to be are people who are coming from technical side, are interested in job offers, have read a blog post on our website, or are coming from search. And if we take a closer look at the coming from technical side user segment, what it basically says is that you are coming from the technical side if you have the technical property, which is term, within your visitor profile. The next thing that I mentioned was applying and optionally revoking the properties to and from your visitor profile. As I said, for that, you need custom development. What we have done on our website is that, on one hand, we have created a custom control that we have added to our master page. That's the guy here. And the reason for that is that everything that is applied within the master page executes for every single page. So no matter where you come to our website in, we can always keep track where are you coming from. So this guy allows us to track the first property, the URL referrer. And what we do here, amongst all the configuration that makes this thing a little more complex but also reusable for us, is that we say if if the host of the site that you are coming from equals any of the hosts that we have specified beneath that term ID, we will stamp you with that term ID and we will store that in that session property. Once again, if the host of the website that you are coming from equals any of the sites that we have defined beneath this term with this ID, we will add this term ID to your visitor profile, which is stored in this session property. If you can memorize that GUID, you've been doing that for years, come on. You might just be able to see that this GUID is exactly the same as this guy. There you go, 2C7AE. So if the URL, if the host of the URL that you are coming from matches any of those domain names, you will get that GUID added to your visitor profile. And we do this twice because we have technical sites and we have business sites. Another place that we do it is on a blog post. So if I just added this one very quickly and scroll all the way down, here is the blog user property. And this is basically the same control, but then wrapped in a web part that we can place everywhere on our website. So what we do here, let me show you its configuration, is that once again we chose to track this on session basis. So if you leave our website at this moment and you will come back later on, you will get a whole new profile. Once again, what we do here is that you are going to get this term ID added to your visitor profile, which is stored in this session variable. Additional thing that we are capable of doing here is that we can count how many times you have visited this page. So if you read a blog post on our website by accident only once and you are not going to visit that again, it might not be that useful for us to stamp you as a technical person. So with that, we could increase this counter to, for example, 2 or 3. And there is another session variable that we use to store the counter in, right? So with that, we are able to store your profile. So we have 3 steps out of 4 covered. And who knows what the last step was? Anyone?
Push those to the content by search.
Yes! You win a toaster. So on our homepage, the content by search web parts that we have are placed directly within the page layout. So those are not configurable in the UI. Let me show you that. So this is our page layout. And here you see the extended content by search web parts that we have developed. In fact, despite the fact that we have 5 of them, only 1 is doing the job. All of them are reusing the data retrieved by the first one. So we are paying attention to the performance things that Eric told about yesterday. And basically the only thing that we have to say here is to use everything that is stored in the Mavention user property session variable and stick it into your query execution logic. And that last part is done in code. So with that, we are able to leverage the SharePoint 2013 search analytics capabilities to display personalized content on our website. Any questions about that? And I expect at least a few. No? Come on, guys. Chris. Yes, you can do it in PHP. No, it's not an app.
Do you have to use the taxonomy for other
So the question is whether you have to use taxonomy for modeling user properties, and the answer is yes, you have to. Anyone else? Yes?
Can a single user be from multiple audiences?
Can a single user?
Visitor to the site.
Yes, that would be useful. So the question is whether a single user can fall within multiple audiences. Yes, he or she can. And whether that's the case or not depends on the query rules that you have defined. So let me show you that quickly. That's not going to work like that. If you go to the query rules configuration where you configure user segments, here you have the ability to say whether other rules should execute or not. And if you choose continue, you are able to, on one hand, have within the single result source to multiple targeting options. And on the other hand, if you have one page or you have separate pages with different result sources, you can use different logic to target content there. So yes, you can. So if there are no more questions, we are going to wrap up. So intelligent websites are a great way to provide added value for business with SharePoint 2013 Web Content Management. What's more, SharePoint 2013 contains capabilities that make it easier for you to build an intelligent website. And please, I cannot stress that enough, don't underestimate the organization challenges and aspects of building websites with personalized content. Because at the end of the day, those are the business rules that are going to describe how the content is going to be personalized and what content should be targeted. For your reference, I have added an overview slide with all of the different capabilities, some extra read-up. And with that, I'd like to thank you for being such an awesome audience. Thank you.